Welcome back to the White Gray Black Weekly Manga Podcast. My name is Bruce, the producer of the White Gray Black YouTube channel. With me again this week is, surprise, Gautam.
Hello, hello.
This is a podcast where we talk about all the latest, greatest Japanese manga releases. Welcome. It is a manga book club, and thank you for being here. This week, we are going to be talking about, of course, the One Piece live action trailer, because so is every other anime and manga creator. I'll say it like that. When it comes to weekly manga, we're going to talk about DameDol, or The Useless Idol and Her Only Fan in the World, by Kishirimo, which is on Chapter 3, good old classic JoJoLands Chapter 5, and competition with Do Retry in another WSJ fighting manga, Martial Master Asumi by Kawada, which had its premiere in Weekly Shonen Jump last week. Let's do some news really quick, and then we'll talk about the trailer. First piece of news, also One Piece related slightly, is Oda, after he had LASIK, some kind of eye surgery to fix astigmatism, is in good spirits after his surgery. So no complications, nothing wrong there. The man made it out.
Good shit. Live forever, Oda. Love that guy.
I pray immortality is invented, not for me, but for Oda Sensei.
Well, you know what? There's a devil fruit for that.
That's true. Maybe that's true. We got a leak of more Chainsaw Man anime. The leak that I saw said there will be a movie and a season 2. I would guess, because of where season 1 ended, that the movie would cover the entirety of the Bomb Devil arc, which I think is a pretty good... I think it's good to do that as a movie, because I think that is a slightly shorter arc, but it's good. It's also kind of self-contained, while it does drive the plot forward. And then to season 2, I honestly think that Chainsaw Man might end up being only 2 seasons in a movie. I think they can maybe finish out in 12 episodes the rest of the story, although I would say it might end up being 3 seasons anyway, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it could be 3, but that's a good point. I think the Bomb Devil arc is probably going to be the movie, and that is the arc that is the most conventionally written structure-wise, like where it has like the over-the-top action climax and all of that. The rest of the series is kind of written so erratically and unconventionally that I feel like it would be harder to make a movie out of any other part of the series.
I think you could probably make a movie out of like the like everyone murdered Denji arc, but that also sort of like doesn't really have a good like resolution, and its climax is a little weird. I mean, its climax, I guess, is like the Darkness Devil stuff, but
it's a good climax. It's just like
it's weirder,
weird, right?
It's weirder. Yeah. You're right. The Bomb Devil arc is very kind of classically like, girl meets boy, they go off and do their thing. Bad guy shows up.
Sharknado. Yeah.
Sharknado, yeah. I think that'll be a really good movie. I think that honestly is going to be maybe not on the level of, what was it? Jujutsu Kaisen 0 or the Mugen Train. Like those movies slayed. Chainsaw Man probably won't be that big, but I think it'll be pretty big if they do that. So,
hey, well, we can watch it in theaters when it comes out.
Yeah. Let's do this one. So Go-Go Loser Ranger, which is also called Ranger Reject, which is a better title, released anime staff, director and the animation studio, which are the two big things I would say. The director's name is Keiichi Sato. This is the guy who directed Gantz Zero, and Rage of Bahamut, Genesis, and Virgin Soul. And those are the 3 kind of biggest things I noted. He's done a good 10 or so other things, but those are all pretty good. Those are a pretty good series. I mean, I watched Rage of Bahamut Genesis, which was one of Mappa's first things they did. I thought it was very good. Gantz Zero is a really good movie. It's a little different from the manga, but it's still very cool. Visually, especially, that is a very cool movie. And then the anime production there is going to be done by Yoestar Pictures, who has mostly done Azure Lane and Arknights anime. So how do you feel about these people here?
Well, I don't know anything about the animation studio because I haven't watched their projects, but the directors, that's sick. Shingeki no Bahamut Genesis, like that show should have been a whole nothing burger. You know, like nobody should have been watching that, and it shouldn't have been good. But it was very freaking good.
That
It's
show
like
is
based off a card game, right? Like, or a mobile game or something.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a gacha game or a mobile card game or something. It's one of those. But yeah, that show has like maybe the best episode 1 for something that everyone knew kind of like nothing about at the time that it came out. So I remember watching episode 1 and like watching the horse run over the roof and all that stuff. And it's like, this is incredibly well animated and really cool visual storytelling. And yeah, Raging
And the main
Bahamut,
character is really fun. Like
all
he's
three of
like
them
the
are
perfect.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, the redheaded MC. I'm forgetting his name. He's like the perfect shithead. He reminds me of the main characters from
Samurai Champloo guy, right? Is that what you're thinking?
No, it's like the it's not Atlantis. It's the other one of those movies that was overly sexual for the time. It was an animated movie.
Not Atlantis.
They had a lute.
Road to El Dorado. Road to El Dorado.
Road to
Yeah.
El Dorado.
Yeah. I was thinking
Yeah,
it reminds me a little bit of, is it Mugen from Samurai Champloo? Or he's kind of like a shithead, like a little bit like that. It's a little bit different, but that's the character kind of movement.
He's like Mugen, but less badass and fails upwards and is not really like super competent.
True.
Just accidentally competent. But they kind of look alike as well. Yeah. Anyway, I think this guy turns shit into gold, and when working with already good source material, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the director's pretty exciting. The animation, I mean, Azure Lane and Arknights, those are both kind of those are big properties. So I don't and the anime are decently popular among, their AIM demographic. So I don't have a whole lot of fears here. I certainly hope it turns out well. The preview they released that preview like a year ago or 6 months ago or something. It was pretty good. No news on when this is coming out, but my guess is it'll be winter probably. So January next year in 6 months or so, but we'll see. So one of the things that we're going to be talking about that you're bringing this week is DameDol, which is a useless idol and the only fan in the world. That author said they were surprised to hear they have English-speaking fans.
Yeah, I saw a post on Reddit about it. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's their series started off as like purely a web series and recently got serialized. And they are on chapter 3 now. And like a lot of mangaka, I don't think they anticipated international popularity. But it's cool. They seem genuinely excited to know that they have fans abroad, especially when the subject matter of their manga is very insular.
Yeah, very Japanese idol culture stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, either way, cool to see. Cool to see that even insular stuff like this has like worldwide recognition. I think it just goes to show that the medium of manga and anime in general is expanding very rapidly before our eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I would say anime especially is like on the very edge of being truly mainstream, right? Like comics weren't really mainstream until Marvel got big, and anime is sort of like right at that pre-Marvel stage where it's like I would say that sort of comic book and comic book movies truly entered into mainstream when like the first Avengers movie launched, right? Like before then, even if everyone was like, oh yeah, these are great, but like the first Avengers movie came out and everyone saw it and everyone knew about it. There hasn't quite been that moment for anime where it's like, oh, this is actually something that everyone is going to see and everyone is liking. I don't know if there ever will be. Anime might always kind of be there will be.
I
hope so.
There will be, because
I don't know what it's going to be, but we'll see. But I hope
anime and manga are very mainstream for the younger generation,
and nerd culture in general. Like if you're, like we are, general nerds into comics and video games and anime and all that stuff. It's just like, oh yeah, you watch anime. Like if you talk to somebody and talking about video games, you'd probably be like, oh, do you watch anime? And everyone's like, yeah. If you're if you're a nerd culture person, anime is super normal. So
I assure you that like kids in high school right now, in middle school right now, watch more anime than they do live action stuff. Of course, their parents don't, and our parents don't.
Well, I
So
don't know.
give it
Some of
like
their parents
10 or
might
15.
be our age. We are almost there. So
Oh, sure. Oh, I forgot that. Damn. Aging sucks, huh?
yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. Give it like 10, 15 years and the old fogies die, we get older, and the younger generation becomes our age.
yeah,
And I think it's in the mainstream now. Now everyone's watching it. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I do think you're right that this is going to take sort of another generational shift, like another 10 or 15 years, because a lot of the stuff we're seeing now, the comic book stuff, comes from people who are like just slightly older than us, but also kind of our age. And it's like, I grew up on, the Spider-Man TV series and Justice League and Batman the Animated Series and Static Shock. And it's like, and yeah, if I was working in an industry like movies or TV, I would want to work on those things. I would want to create those things. So I think what you're saying is right, that in another, 10 or 15 years, I mean, maybe even what we're going to talk about next, right? The One Piece live action, maybe that is the start of anime in the mainstream, right? Is, hey, here's a manga and anime property, and here's a live action version of it from people who grew up on it and have been fans of it for years and are now in a position of power and control and money that are able to make this. And if it's good or good enough, that might be the thing, right? That might be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So let's talk about it. On Saturday, I believe it was, we got Netflix Tudum, which was a presentation of all their new shows that happened in Brazil. It was like a live, kind of like a convention. I'm trying to think of what to call it. Like a stage show, stage presentation show, I guess you could say, for a lot of their new stuff. And at that show, we got a trailer for the One Piece live action show, which is coming in 40 days. So coming up pretty soon. Let's start with a couple of questions. What were your overall feelings watching the One Piece live action trailer from Netflix?
Negative. I personally was not a fan of what I saw. It could have very well just be a bad trailer. And I'm very willing to believe that. But the good parts, I thought the cast fit perfectly. I thought the sets looked cool, but I didn't really like anything else I saw, to be honest. I didn't think the dialogue was anything that great, but of course, this is all trailer stuff. I'll watch the full show and reserve my judgment there.
Yeah.
The CGI didn't look that good. It was a little goofy, but in the bad way. Kind of like how I thought it would be. Of course, this is all speaking from a trailer's perspective, so I'm not going to keep subtitling that. I'll wait for the full series. Of course, I'm not going to make my judgments till the full series comes out. But at the moment, I didn't really like anything else. Oh, wait, the Shanks scene looked cool.
Yeah, I thought the CGI in that part looks pretty good.
Yeah.
What
did you think, Bruce?
I'm a little bit more positive on it than you, but that only kind of brings me up to neutral. I thought, I agree with you that I didn't think that the trailer itself was very good, but I liked, if you sort of like stopped or just showed me the like 2-second scene of it, I'd be like, yeah, that looks good. You mentioned the actors. I think in the same way with the Cowboy Bebop adaptation, if this fails, I don't think it is any fault of these actors. These actors all seem, they look perfect, like nearly perfect in every way, all of them. I'm especially a fan of Usopp and Luffy. I think both are just like, yeah, that's what those characters would look like in live action for me. But it's weird because as a whole, you're right. As a whole, the trailer felt very Netflix to me, which is not a good thing. Netflix has this particular style, and it's pervasive in not all of their shows, but most of them, especially things that get sort of like multiple seasons, like Wednesday. I watched Wednesday, and I know that everyone loved that show. That show was like the most Netflix show that was ever made, which just means that it's kind of got this like, it has this visual style that's like uninteresting and seems very kind of quickly shot, quickly put together, not cheap by any means, but just sort of like, there's no real artistry in it or no real like nuance in the visual storytelling of it. Which again, I think is my biggest complaint about this trailer is that most of the shots that I saw in it were just kind of like, yeah, it's just a face close up or a wide shot or whatever. But I did like there's a quick scene where Zoro's fighting Mr. Seven or something, and I thought, oh, that looks cool. So there's a couple little parts where I thought, oh, that looks good. You mentioned the Shank scene. I thought that looked pretty cool.
I thought Buggy looked cool too.
But I thought Buggy I thought looked great because he's supposed to. People were like, "What?" There's a lot of complaints online about Buggy, but I thought when Buggy first shows up, I mean, he's like a scary bad guy, and it's kind of through the first arc that Luffy like embarrasses him, and that makes him more of like a goofy fuck up. So I'm ready for that arc.
I think those people are just looking to hate. I'm willing to read valid criticisms, and I hope mine have been valid, but. It's insane to see how many people online just want this thing to fail right out the gate.
Yeah. One of the other big things that I think didn't help the trailer for fans is the sort of Luffy voiceover of like, I'm going to say, because it's very out of character for Luffy to like narrate his own life and push the plot forward. I think that is okay because this trailer, and this is, I think, the big thing to take away from this, is that this trailer is not for you and me, right? This trailer is not for people who have read over 1,000 chapters or, watched hundreds of episodes of anime or read it multiple times. We're already fans. If you've already read it or seen it, you're a fan, you're going to watch this, right? Like you already said, like you didn't like the trailer, you're still going to watch the show. So the trailer isn't really for us. The trailer is for other people. I hope that people who don't know what One Piece is or don't have full exposure to it, liked it a little bit more. Maybe it set the tone or showed them some interesting stuff. I'm kind of came out of it neutral where it was like, I didn't really like the trailer as a whole, but there was lots of little individual things that I liked. I think the costume design in this looks really good. I saw a bunch of posts that showed that a lot of like Luffy and Usopp's, oh wait, can you see him or is my face over here? Yeah, I'll move myself. To the center. Haha, I'm a straw hat. Usopp's shirt here is one that is taken directly from a color spread that Oda did.
I love that shirt.
And it's the same thing with Luffy's shirt here. And like every, I think, costume that we saw in the trailer was like something that Oda had originally drawn in a color spread or a cover or a side story or something like that. And that's really cool that they aren't just like, oh, we know what their style is, or they'll wear the same thing, whatever. It's actually like, oh yeah, Oda designed, this clothes. We're going to bring it into real life, and the person's going to wear it. I think that's pretty neat. So,
also, I will say, not to change the subject, but Zoro's hair looks great.
Yeah, how do you? A lot of people were complaining that Emily Rudd, the actress who plays Nami, like her hair is naturally red. And they recolored it for Nami's hair, which is also red, right? The sort of burnt red orange. And somehow Zoro's green hair looks better than her hair in this trailer, which is strange.
Yeah, I suppose I see that too, but it really doesn't matter. Like, I can't tell. This looks like a natural redhead to me, unless you tell me it's not, and then
I don't think that's her natural hair. I'm pretty sure she's wearing a wig, especially this bottom picture. I'm pretty sure that's her wearing a wig because I've seen her natural hair is not this color, but it is still red hair.
I suppose I just can't tell really unless it's being pointed out to me. It looks fine to me. I guess I have no complaints on that one. I think they look great, man.
I think so. Here's
I do have a question in regards to just general buy-in, right? Because so when a company makes a product like this, and this is like $1 billion, like, or how much ever fucking money they spend on this.
I believe they spent $100 million making this.
100 million,
like 10 million an episode or so.
10 million an episode. Yeah, billion is crazy. I don't know why I said that, but anyway,
movies don't cost that much.
Yeah, that would be insane. But so something that costs so much money. You already know that you have the One Piece fans in. They're gonna watch your show, but they are also your biggest critics. So when you release a trailer for the general audience and a One Piece fan is unable to put together in their brain that this is not for them, they will be your biggest detractors PR wise, because it's not the original. And of course, you have people who are going to be that way regardless. But I just wonder, like, where the line is, where it's worth it to kind of make a trailer for the fans versus make it for the general audience. Because by making it for the general audience, you get these,
you could alienate fans, right?
Or you get people who are like posting gifs of SpongeBob gouging out his eyes or whatever, you know, like you get those folks. So I don't know what the better PR move is, to make something that the fans will like, or to make something that appeals to the audience you haven't captured yet, and get detracting opinions from people who like the source material.
It's a good question. I actually think the answer for One Piece is different from a normal adaptation. In a normal adaptation, I think you always aim your trailer at the people who don't know what it is, who aren't aware of it, and you want to get interested, because people who are already fans will go, "Oh, cool, they're adapting X. I've read or seen X, and I'll go watch it." I'm thinking of like I don't know if I have an example, but for One Piece, because there are so many One Piece fans and it is such a huge property, I actually think that the strategy here would have been to aim this trailer directly at the fans and let word of mouth do the job for you. Now, I understand why they didn't do that, because again, in normal situations, you're not doing that. So historically, you're just kind of sticking with historically, you make a trailer that's for everyone. That being said, I mean, we're still pointing out things that we liked in the trailer. And I would say generally the reception of this show is, most of the reception I saw is either complete haters, who were pretty rare, or people who are like, well, you know, that doesn't seem quite right. Like the quips weren't quite right. But, you know, but I love the way the actors look. I think everyone is bought in on the way the actors and the sets and everything look.
And that's rare.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Bebop, everyone bought into the actors also, in that show I literally couldn't make it 20 minutes into that show. It was so bad. So, but this one, it does not look as bad as Bebop did. It was for the first 20 minutes. So, which is weird, because when we talked about this in the past, I mean, not even on the podcast, before the podcast even started, Cowboy Bebop is, in my opinion, one of the easiest things to adapt into live action. Like, it's already on the cusp of being a live action series. It is realistic. It is drawn real. And they fucked that up just by bad writing and making it cheesy as hell and not at all tonally correct. And One Piece, we discussed, is one of the most difficult things to adapt, because it's Looney Tunes for most of it, right? Like,
yeah, all the way through.
It's if someone said, I want to make a live action, like, you know, what is the operatic Bugs Bunny? Have you seen that Looney Tunes thing, right? Where he does all the opera. It's wild. He like changes costume a bunch. If someone said, I want to make a live action adaptation of that, I would be like, no. The amount of special effects that it doesn't work in live action, it's good because it's a cartoon, because it's cartoony. That's how I know that we both felt about One Piece before this. So all that to say that I think that this is a spectacular challenge, and the fact that I feel neutral on it, I actually think is a win for them, right? The fact that I'm not looking at this and going like, oh no, this is awful, this is never going to work, nothing here looks good. The fact that I'm like, well, the actors look good, and you know, the CGI Sea Kings looked pretty decent, and all of the sets and the designs and the costuming looks good. The fact that we're not just saying, well, of course it was going to fail, we knew it was going to fail, you can't adapt One Piece. In my opinion, that's pretty good.
Yeah, well, I'd agree there. I wish I liked the trailer more, and I am looking forward to seeing the full series. And shit, man, like, even from the bottom right screenshot, you can tell like the tiny details that went into making this thing. Like the coat of paint on the Mary, like being chipped, right? Like,
yeah, like the worn stuff, like what is it? The Barati is okay. The ship that Sanji is on when they meet him, is it Barati or Baratier?
I've always said Barati.
Okay, I look at that and look at it in a French angle, and I always thought it would be Baratier, but
you're probably more right.
I don't know, but everyone else says Barati, so we'll see what they say in the show, I guess. But
yeah, I'm kind of curious. I don't know.
I will say one more thing. I think Netflix is notorious for canceling things after 2 or 3 seasons. I think best case scenario is, I think if we get 2 seasons of this, and if I think season 2 covers through Alabasta, I think season 2 will sell more people on it than season 1. East Blue, it's not bad. It is not in my top 5 or 10. None of the arcs in the start are really part of my favorite parts of One Piece. They are necessary. They are enjoyable. They are good. I think if they can get to the Grand Line and if they can do Chopper and Robin and all of Alabasta, I think is where I know that when I read it with you, Alabasta was the first time when we talked that I was like, okay, this is legitimately really good. One Piece is not just kind of like, oh, it's fun and pretty good. It's like, okay, Alabasta is where I was like fully bought in and said, this is legit great. So I really hope, I really hope that we get at least 2 seasons of this, right? If we get, I think 3 maybe, but if we get a second season, right, and they give them a little bit more money because it was a success, more money lets them do Chopper as a challenge. I hope that they would do Puppet Chopper. That would be my hope. Like Baby Yoda, kind of.
I think it'll be CGI. Chopper's just too active to be a puppet.
Yeah,
Baby Yoda doesn't move much, right? Like
that's true. Baby Yoda's immobile most of the time, but anyways, yeah. I think if we get a second season and it's canceled, that's fine. They are not going to adapt all of One Piece. I don't think this is ever going to be that big. I don't think the timeline works for it. It'd be cool if they did. But I think if we get a second season that's Alabasta and then it ends, or maybe we get Alabasta and then if we get Alabasta and then like Water 7 Ina's Lobby is season 3, like that would be sick. Like getting all of those 3 arcs, Alabasta, Ina's Lobby, Water 7 in live action, and that way you see the whole crew except for Brooks, which again is kind of like that's a harder one to incorporate. I would be pretty happy with all of that.
So I think Chopper is going to be like very goofy, right? So I think what they have to do in season 1 is to get the audience to buy into the inherent goofiness, because we're going to see Fishman in Arlong Park, and the audience has to be okay with that. They're also going to have to make us care about the crew. 1, that's their biggest challenge. 2 is nail Arlong Park, because I think you would agree that is the strongest arc before.
Of East Blue, yeah. Arlong Park was the first time where I was like, I mean, I'm remembering because you're the one who told me to read One Piece. You told me to read 100 chapters. 100 chapters gets you to like the middle of Arlong Park. I think Arlong Park ends at like 107 or 114 or something. But I remember getting to like Luffy putting his hat on Nami and being like, "Of course I will. Of course I'll help you." And that moment, that like locked me into One Piece. Like Alabasta solidified it as like, this isn't just good, this is great. But Arlong Park arc was like, okay, I am now invested in the whole series, and like that moment.
Asking you to read 100 chapters was accidentally a trap. You know, it's like, what are you going to do?
Because it's in the middle of like the best arc to date. Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah. Also, okay, so from that bottom right picture where they all have their legs up on this barrel, that is probably the end of the season, or what will be the end of the season, because that's in the anime and manga. That is when they are entering the Grand Line, and fully formed as a crew. Well, quote unquote, fully formed, but accept each other as crewmates and that they're on this journey together. But so I think we know conclusively that this will finish out Arlong Park, Barati, and all that stuff. I'm guessing that is where that is probably going to be like the last scene of this.
Yeah, my guess is we either end with them like approaching what's the mountain called?
It's like a reverse mountain.
Reverse mountain, yeah. They either end with them approaching reverse mountain or going up it or down it, right? I think it would be cool for it to end them going down reverse mountain, and it ends with like Labon at the end, and it like a huge scary whale, and then it just cuts like to end. That would be cool. That would be a nice tease to get to season 2.
I actually think you're right. I think that might be where it ends. But either way,
that would be where I would end it. But who knows?
Same. Well, they can't get into the Laboon stuff. That would take a while.
No, but they could. No, but I do think teasing the
teasing it. Yeah,
they made it. What's we've kind of teased the grand line for the whole season. What is it? It's supposed to be dangerous and crazy, and the first thing they see is like this enormous, fucked up sperm whale with a giant like cross on his forehead. Like
that'll be the hook.
Yeah, which would be So we'll see. Anything else about One Piece live action we want to chat about?
No. I'm looking forward to it though.
Yeah, one more call out. One thing I really did like about the trailer is I thought the music was really good in the trailer. It was really unique, catchy. It had sort of a theme that was like, okay, I can see this being the theme of the live action One Piece, and I buy it, and it's good. So if you don't remember the music, go back and watch it again and listen to it. So
I'll have to do that. I don't remember.
Cool. Cool. Let's chat about manga then. Gautam, why don't you go first? Tell me about DameDol. This is a useless idol and the only fan in the world by mangaka Kishirimo.
Sure. Yeah, I actually have less to say on this than you would think. Since it's not really my type of manga, but it is immensely popular on Reddit, and I have read. This is, like I mentioned earlier, this has just been serialized. It used to be a webcomic before this. But the webcomic was immensely popular, and the manga appears to be very popular so far. Based on what I'm seeing on Reddit, there's no sales numbers out yet. There hasn't been a volume published, so we'll have to wait on that. But either way, this is an idol manga, not like Oshinoko, because it is not dramatic. It is just a comedy about an idol who is just clumsy and is bad at everything, and has one fan. And yeah, it's a cute series. It's just fun. I would say it's a rom-com minus the rom at the moment.
And surely it's coming, but yeah.
Eventually it has to be. And yeah, her one fan is immensely dedicated to her, but also it's like kind of not mansplaining, but he's kind of just like, hey, you're not an idol, man.
Yeah, he sort of knows more about it than she does. In most ways.
Because he is like a huge otaku. So yeah. Either way, it's just mostly every chapter is pretty much the same. It is her fucking something up and them getting into it over her latest performance. And the way I describe it makes it sound formulaic, and it is. But I think it's a good kind of formulaic, right? Like if you like the gag, then it's a really good gag. Also, the character designs are pretty great.
Yeah, the art's really good for a rom-com type thing.
Yeah, I didn't include the panel, but he has like hearts in his eyes pretty often, and you don't really see male characters with like hearts for eyes. I didn't include the panel for it, but yeah. Yeah, and the ending gag is she gets his name, and he's like, "Wait, my name is not enough," and offers his bank card and PIN numbers as like tribute. Yeah, so overall a fun manga. If you like rom-coms, I think you should pick this one up.
Yeah, it's pretty cute. I remember reading the I guess they were like Twitter shorts originally, which is how a lot of manga have gotten their start in the last couple of years. Yeah, but I mean, this is cute. It's funny. It's funny because the dynamic between the two is like the girl is sort of the like worst of her group and no one likes her, and this is like the only guy who likes her, but he also like critiques her all the time. So their dynamic is kind of the whole crux of the thing that is entertaining. So
yeah, it's like he's into the clumsiness, you know.
Yeah. It's like, I love, he's like, oh my, she's my favorite. I love her. But he also has a sign that says like eyes front, pay attention, that he's like flashing at her. So it's like, okay. He realizes that she is not a good idol, I guess you could say.
Right. Yeah, it's a fun series. I just think I am not the target audience for a lot of rom-coms.
Yeah.
So I can't give proper judgment on it. But I wanted to bring it up because it's very popular, and I know by shouting it out, it'll get some people to read something they like.
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah, more people should. I mean, more people should read more manga. You should read more manga. Cool. Anything else about DameDol?
Nope.
Awesome. Swapping over to the world of hyper serious, wild, and crazy shit. I want to talk about JoJoLands Chapter 5. This is monthly. This is by Araki JoJo. You should know what it is. If you don't, who are you? What are you doing here? This is good. I've seen 3.5 seasons of the JoJo anime, so I've not consumed all of Diamond is Unbreakable or season 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. This is technically part 9 of JoJo called JoJoLands. But this is like, I like it. It's fun. It's good. I am enjoying it. The art especially. I don't think I had ever really given Araki enough credit for how good his art is. While also being sort of unique and detailed, it's super good. The plot up to now, we have met Jodio, who is our JoJo for this arc. He and his team, which includes like his sister and 2 other stand users, were assigned to go steal a diamond that was in the possession of Rohan Kishibe. Rohan Kishibe is a character from part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable, who has a bunch of spin-offs. He's like one of the most popular JoJo characters. So they are breaking into his house. There is some weird cat that we'll see at the end of the chapter walking around. And everyone involved has a stand or is a stand. It's comedy of errors, but it's hyper serious. It's super funny. JoJo is such a weird anomaly in all art, in that it takes itself so seriously, but in doing so makes itself the funniest, goofiest thing imaginable.
The author knows exactly what he's doing.
He does.
I love it.
He's so good at what he does. So because JoJo is just weird, right? They try to take this diamond out of the vault. The good guys, the protagonist. They aren't really the good guys. They're like thieves and they sold drugs to kids. So that's who this JoJo is in this one. In Hawaii is where this one's set. But they try to steal this diamond, and it's doing this weird stuff where it's like they can't hold on to it. It like they think they take it, they have it in their hand, and then it's not in their hand. And this is like the JoJo's sister being like, what is up with this diamond, the cash? Like, what's going on? But then this is just like great Araki art, right? Like this is just like no lines, visual storytelling, stuff going on. The rain that is on these left panels is from Jodio's stand. And this is Rohan Kishibe with the headband type thing here.
What's his power?
So Jodio's power or Rohan Kishibe?
Rohan. I know
okay.
Jodio has this eldritch monster.
Yeah, Jodio's power is Purple Rain, which is a Prince song.
I love that. I remember that now.
So he makes this rain and it does stuff. I don't know if it's been explained exactly what it does. Rohan Kishibe, I don't remember the name of his stand. His stand is he can touch you and he turns your body into manga, which he can then read and learn about who you are and where you've been. So he grabs Jodio's sister at the start, or maybe a chapter or 2 ago, and flips through who she is. She's like, oh, I see your name is blah, blah, blah. And the other people are here and you're here to steal the diamond, because his power just he can also rewrite things into the storybook that he turns the person into to change who they are or what they can and can't do.
Oh, that's wild. I love that.
I mean, yeah, stands are insane. The first time he shows up when he fights, I guess it's, oh God, whatever. Who's the 4th JoJo? Josuke. He rewrites one of Josuke's friends is just you can't attack me because I have written in that you will not attack me, and so he can't. He starts out kind of as a bad guy or an antagonist, I guess. But anyways, yeah, and then Jodio gets the drop on him, ties him up. There's just some really funny interactions because Jodio is a fan of Rohan Kishibe's manga. He's a manga author in the universe. He's a super popular one, right? He's really rich and all that stuff.
That makes
sense.
And
he's which is funny in this top right panel. It's the day I get to meet him should be a great day. I really admire this guy, so I'm not going to just kill him. I'm not doing it. I like him.
So from what I'm seeing, he probably wrote that the girl is not a thief or something like that, right?
It's actually probably something else, which we'll see at the end of the chapter. But yeah, here is a diamond where she's no matter, I can't steal it, no matter how hard. And there's also this weird, So nothing has really been revealed yet of what's going on here, but when they break into Ron Kishibe's house, there's like a whole room full of these like volcanic rocks, and Jodio flips through his like iPad, which has a bunch of pictures of volcanoes and volcanic rocks, and then when they open the safe with the diamond, like a chapter ago, there's a diamond and these 2 volcanic rocks in there. So Jodio takes them and is like, aha, I bet these are valuable, like breaks one of them, which makes, this is like Ron Kishibe like, are you insane, you son of a bitch? And it's like, whoa, and it's like, see, like I broke the volcanic rock, which is obviously really important. And Jojo is like, all right, I'm gonna take one of these rocks because that's really important to you, blah blah blah. And Rohan Kishibe, he's obviously like a good guy generally in the series, is like, hey, come here, Jodio, I'm gonna talk to only you while your friends leave. And he's like, take care of that lava, like fortune will be yours, like that mechanism will gradually come to you. A rule of nature is in that lava. So he's like telling him like, hey, this is the MacGuffin. You've got the MacGuffin now. Be careful. Like don't give in, climb to the top. And it's interesting that there's highlighted words here like mechanism, which is something that in the like tease paragraph for this JoJo, there's something about this JoJo like climbing to the top using mechanisms. Like they use the word mechanism in that tagline. So this is clearly sort of like, the story is rolling now that we have this kind of lava, thing. And then here is Araki. It has been 40 years and he still can't really draw animals very well. This cat, this is actually potentially why they can't steal the diamond. In the chapter before this, there was like this string that had wrapped around 2 of the thieves, like their arm and their leg. This is why JoJo is wild and fun. There was a string that wrapped around 2 of their legs, which was, they have decided it is a stand from this cat. The string would like wrap around and tighten, and they like couldn't get it off. And just take a guess of how they got the string off.
Something to do with cat butthole.
No, but that's a good guess. No, they came to the conclusion that they couldn't move the string, but they could move themselves through the string to get out of it, which is that is like the ultimate JoJo, like, oh, that
is cheating.
Of course, you can't move the string as it tightens around you, but you can move your body through
that doesn't make any sense.
No, also, but it's also classic JoJo.
You said I was close when I was not remotely close.
It's close because that is certainly something that Araki might do in JoJo.
He very specifically drew the buttholes on these cats.
He did,
which is confusing to me.
He also and it's funny because this is better than Iggy. Iggy's a Boston Terrier in part 3, and Iggy's like nightmare fuel.
That first cat, it kind of looks like a pug, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you'll see why. Let me see if I can find an actual manga panel. Yeah, here we go. This is what Iggy looks like in the manga, which is like,
is that a person?
That is not what a dog looks like.
That's a dog. I thought that was
this
a
person. This is intended to be a Boston Terrier dog. Yes.
Oh.
Which like this is on the right is more what a Boston Terrier. Like I own a Boston Terrier, which is why it's even funnier for me, and I love Iggy. But yeah, you can see that his animal faces are very humanoid and very strange.
That's weird.
It's funny to me because we hadn't really seen the cat's like face up close in the last 2 chapters, even though he'd been wandering around, and I was like, oh yeah, he's like, it's just a normal cat. And then it shows his face is just like, no, Araki still can't quite get a normal cat down. That looks very humanoid. But also like, it's so funny that how little JoJo has changed from, the 80s, the early 90s. It's like the chapter ends with like the just big doom sound effect at the top. It's great. I don't know. I had read 2 chapters and then kind of fell off because it's monthly and it's always hard to remember that. But like reading 3 chapters in a row was wonderful. I'm in on this JoJo. I'll keep reading it. It's fun.
It seems fun. I mean, like you can always rely on JoJo for fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it always knows what it is, and it always feels like 80s schlock to me.
Yes, it is. I don't think it is not moved on from that, and then that's kind of in the best possible way. This is very like very kind of 80s action movie, like heist stuff. Like it feels very similar to stuff like that. So.
Well,
Cool.
awesome. Yeah, it seems like a fun read, and I know what you mean by like monthly manga kind of losing you along the way. It's hard to keep up like the audience investment with monthly series. So reading them in order or marathoning like a few chapters in a row always feels good.
I think it helps a lot. I think for me, especially just starting at 1 chapter and then 2 and then 3, it's like those first 3 months are really hard. But I think that like waiting until there's like 5 or 6 chapters, reading them all and being like, okay, all that information is in, I'm bought into the story, I will read the monthly now. So I think I'm in on this. I need to go back and finish up JoJo or read it or something, because I know that I'm to the part that people say is good, which is the second half of part 4. But yeah, so let's talk about another new Weekly Shonen Jump series, which it feels like it has barely been 2 weeks, I think, since Neo's Exorcist was the last thing we talked about, maybe 3. But we're getting another new series. This is Martial Master Asumi. This is by a mangaka called Kawada. One name, like Cher. Premise of this is a normal high school kid who is not actually normal, who has kind of been trained in fighting by his grandpa, is going to get into some hijinks with a girl who runs an MMA gym. I think that's the best way I could summarize it.
Yeah, so what did you think of it?
It was pretty good. Not great, but it was pretty good. I liked a lot of stuff about this. I actually think this is the second best new manga WSJ has published. I liked this better than Kill Blue, Do Retry, or Nue's Exorcist. I think Do Retry is dead in the water with this published in the same magazine, because this is a better fighting thing than that. I don't know if you've been seeing what Do Retry has done the last 2 or 3 weeks, but there's literally a dude where one arm is super jacked and the other is not, and that was the fight, and people cannot stop calling him the masturbator. And
the masturbator.
I absolutely know why. It's stupid. Do Retry is dead. Martial Master Asumi I thought was pretty good. How did you feel about it, chapter 1?
I thought this one was the best of the lot, and it's not close. I thought it was a great chapter 1. I think I liked it more than Tenmaku Cinema's chapter.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I thought Tenmaku was way better, but this is definitely easy number 2.
For me, this one was very beat for beat by the books, but I liked everything about it. I liked the main character. I thought he was great. I liked his internal monologues and kind of just his general characterization. I think it is unique to have someone who is picked on, but also doesn't want to escalate a situation. But like it's a balancing act, because either the character is a complete pushover,
and that's lame, and that's not enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly. And the character arc is that they grow out of being a pushover. But this guy's not a pushover. He just doesn't want to escalate a situation. And eventually he reaches his breaking point, which is the shown
cool
pretty
part.
well.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. But yeah, that's I agree with you. I actually didn't really like the main character that much until he reached his breaking point, and then I thought, okay, that's interesting now. But yeah, I mean, the main character Nito Asumi, I didn't put the panel in here, but he's like in high school with a bunch of his friends, and like, all right, on 3, point to the girl you like, and he points to like the girl with glasses, which is funny why he runs into the female main character here, and is like a cutie with glasses from Nito's point of view. And she wants to do like pro MMA. The flashback sort of story setup I thought was good. His grandpa like runs a dojo and has been training him to fight, and the main character is very like, why does fighting matter, and why do I need to be strong? My dad was strong and he died in a car wreck, and so being strong doesn't matter. It's not something I care about. But the grandpa's still like, I'm still going to train you, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, here it is. Like, strong people still die, so I don't need to be strong. I don't need it. Which, I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just a good flashback. It worked for me to characterize the main character. His grandpa has dementia, yeah, and he's sort of forgetful, and Nito is like his caretaker, but when he gets into fighting mode, he like remembers stuff, the grandpa that is. So I really like this part. There's like a bunch of guys on the train, and the girl and guy main character are here, and she goes to like absolutely fight the guys, wreck the guys. I think this is just a great dynamic, like flashy action panel here. And he just like steps in front of her foot, and he's just like, she knocked my socks. He just like gets hit.
I really like that too. I think the female protagonist is automatically interesting so far.
I agree.
I like that the main guys, the MC's problem at the moment is that he is willing to make the situation better for everyone but himself at all costs, until he hits kind of a breaking point towards the end of the chapter. But I think that is a good problem to expand upon, because I don't think it's done very often, or at least not committed to. So I thought that was interesting. I like the MC, and there is a scene where he is fighting the bullies.
I was gonna say let's talk about that part, because that, in my opinion, is the best part of this chapter 1. Is there's all the setup that's kind of generic, and the guy's like a little bit of a pushover, and MMA, okay, cool, and his friend is training and all that stuff. But in my opinion, the really interesting part comes at the end, where he gets cornered, he gets kind of pushed to the part. Let me see if it's got so like the voiceover text, the kind of narration by the main character is like, I don't like pain. I've given up a lot to maintain a C average life. I just had to. It's like, if I give up here, my life will drop to a 0. And has his grandpa, which is like, it's called martial art because it's an expression of skill. Don't just swing wildly, and then he just like goes sicko mode on these guys and like absolutely wrecks them in a single page. This, in my opinion, this is the best part of this chapter, because it's like, it's really good. It's pretty good action paneling. It's really dynamic. And you don't see a lot of the sort of like berserker archetype that's outside of fantasy, right? Where it's like, they're a normal dude, but when they're pushed to their limit, now they're super strong. Or now they, are in go mode. And it's really cool. And he's like, once the fight starts, don't stop. This is what I've trained for. And so these 3 guys bully him, and he's just like, okay, and just absolutely like takes them out instantly. It's just very cool.
This author is clearly experienced with drawing martial arts. After this sumo manga, I'm forgetting its name. I probably shouldn't. But
it had the word sumo in the name. But
sumo manga. It's all grappling. So this guy is used to drawing grappling on page, so that helps a lot. Yeah,
this is, I think, a clear. This is
my favorite page, by the way.
Me too. Yeah, for sure. This is great.
I like that he was fully willing to break that guy's arm to break his spirit.
Yeah, and I love the change in facial expressions. Like the second he like goes sicko mode, it's like wide eyes, aggressive. Like this panel in the top left here, like that doesn't look like the same character, like the goofy guy we've seen. And especially not in this one, where he's like a smiling demon that he's like, now you'll think twice before messing with us. This is great. I think this is a really good example of an idea called write what you know, which is a sort of an idea in writing of saying, if you are familiar with something, use that to inform your writing. I talked about this in my Chainsaw Man video briefly with Fujimoto knows movies, and he puts that into his writing. This author clearly knows martial arts, right? He wrote a series about sumo. All the scenes in the dojo with the girl are all about, oh, here's how MMA works. You change your styles, blah, blah, blah. It like explains stuff. Like this guy clearly knows about MMA and fighting and grappling and all this stuff. And it shows in chapter 1 that not only do they know about it on I can list how it's done, they know about it on a way that, if you look at the action panel, right, this is a grab and a submission. He like goes low, like this flip right here. Like that's, I had a friend in high school. Her family was from Hawaii. They were Japanese descent from Hawaii, and she knew judo. She did this to me and gave me a scar. I was just like, everyone was like, aha, judo throw me. And she was small. She was like 5 feet or 5'1", and she could just wreck you. Like she could just grab you and throw you, and you're like, what the hell? And she literally has done this to me with this middle panel here, where he's like throwing the guy over his shoulder. And so I think that's really cool. Yeah, the arm grapple here, that's like, I've seen that in MMA fights. I haven't watched a ton, but I've seen clips and like that happens a lot. So yeah, anyways, this really cool author who clearly knows his stuff with MMA. Whereas if I look at, just as the comparison that's obviously going to be made, if I look at Do Retry and a punching guy fighting masturbator arm, that does not feel informed by real boxing or a boxing fan writing a manga, in my opinion, right? So
I don't know. I also feel like that's too goofy for the setting they established in
also,
Do
yeah,
Retry
also
as well.
true.
You know, like. But anyway, that aside, I truly like this.
I do
I
too,
think
yeah.
chapter 2 and 3 will be, of course, slower, but I'm looking to see how they establish their characters and move forward with this.
Yeah, I'm super exciting. Very happy with it. I think the girly character is great. Double fang and glasses. It's just, yeah, it's, you don't see it a
She's
whole
a
lot.
vampire.
Maybe, yeah.
Uh,
Like talks about cauliflower ear, which is like
yeah,
a very specific, that's like a boxing thing I think I've heard about in one of the boxing movies I've seen. But yeah, I don't know. It's I like this series. This is definitely, I think we agree that this is definitely like the second best new thing that's come out of the past 5 things WSJ has published.
I agree. But like it's interesting. I feel like this is so much stronger than everything aside from Tenmaku that, like, I don't even know what to say. Like, it is that much stronger. And same with Tenmaku. Tenmaku is that much stronger than the other 3 or 4 or whatever. Is it just because the other 3 or 4 are bad?
It is. Yes, I would honestly say that Nue's Exorcist and Do Retry are like way worse than the last year we had of new stuff. Like, I would rather go read like Tokyo Demon Bride or Dororon or even Super Smartphone. Like, that wasn't great, but I read like 6 or 7 chapters of it and was like, okay, maybe. Do Retry and New Exorcist especially is like chapter 1, no. Do Retry was like chapter 3, no. This is, I agree with you. This is good. This makes me excited to see. So we're getting another new series on Sunday that's called, it's like Frost Hunter Gill or something like that. Excited to see if that's also a higher quality than the other 2. I hope it is.
You know, and I feel bad calling those shit, even though they are shit. Like, because these mangaka are clearly passionate about their projects and they work really hard. But God, I hope they end early so they're put out of their suffering faster. I just don't see them lasting in the magazine.
Yeah, I mean, they get pretty much everything gets about 6 months, right? You get 24. You get 24 to 26 chapters. So we'll see. I mean, there'll be another new block in, I think it's like October usually. September, October. We'll see. It's interesting to me, especially that like 6 new series in Jump in the span of 2 or 3 months is a lot. But I think that they are expecting Mashal is ending. My Hero is ending soon-ish. That was one of my bets for the year, was that My Hero ends this year. I don't know if that'll be right. The fact that we got on Sunday a 9-page chapter of My Hero Academia, we might not get there if he's only writing 9 pages. And he's off this week because overwork or something, right? So
let the dude rest. I feel bad for Horikoshi, man.
Yeah, but I also think Fabricant 100 might be on the chopping block. Also, I have not kept up with that.
I haven't kept up with that or Cypher in a while. So
yeah, Cypher Academy I think is actually here to stay.
Okay.
As much as we didn't like it, I think it is being received pretty decently, and definitely not top half, but also not like the lowest thing.
Maybe it appeals. Like, the puzzles maybe work in Japanese way better.
I'm absolutely sure that they do, but also I'm kind of curious to get back to it because I've tried to dip into the Reddit threads a couple times and on Twitter to see what people are saying about it. And people aren't really talking about the puzzles anymore. They're talking about characters and stuff. So maybe it pivoted away from that and got good, because I mean, Nisoi Isin, like I said before it premiered, super great character writer, one of the best. Bakemonogatari, the Monogatari series in general is maybe my favorite anime, maybe second to K-On! But yeah, is excellent. So it was strange to me that Cypher didn't work for me as well. But anyways, anything else to say about this series is just called MMA, Martial Master Asumi.
No, I'm looking forward to more. But I did want to give a quick shout out to Mashal, which I think has been the strongest thing in the magazine for the past 2 weeks. It is concluding, and it's concluding well.
Yes,
so
they actually announced they announced that Mashal is entering its like hyper ending or hyper climax or something. I don't remember the exact wording they used, but yeah, Mashal's done.
The climax is done. Yeah.
Yeah, my
It's
guess
all
is
but over.
yeah, my guess is it's like a month out, maybe. Like there's like maybe 2 to 5 more chapters of Mashal, and then it'll be gone. So
I believe it. But yeah, I don't think I've ever felt that Mashal was the strongest in the magazine ever until these last 2 weeks. So check it out if you haven't. It's a really fun read.
yeah, and I think it's ending at a perfect time. It's going to end at about 150 chapters, so 160 maybe. Cool. Anything else in manga we wanted to chat about? I think we're good. Cool. So let's talk about what else we're up to. What have you been doing this past week?
Yeah, so I finished Tears of the Kingdom. Amazing game, really fun. And I'm waiting for FF16, which comes out in a few hours. But I didn't know what to do between that gap in time. Because I didn't want to play anything too long or watch anything too long. Because I know I'd have to stop it to go play FF16. And my monkey brain can only do one thing at a time. So I picked up Mass Effect since I've already played that game. That whole trilogy. And it has been pretty fun. It is interesting how kind of mediocre the writing is in retrospect.
Are you playing the first one again?
I'm playing the first one, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I only say that it's because like they have like a very urgent thing to do. And like they go around talking to people like about the urgent things. Like, oh, we have to prove this guy's a traitor. It's like, okay, let me go talk to this guy. It's like, we have 30 minutes to prove this. And when you're talking to random people, you're just like shooting the shit. It's like all urgency is gone. It's like, yeah, I hate the cops too. It's like, quit having just random conversations, Shepard. Focus. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of wild. I don't know.
The first Mass Effect is a funny game because what the first Mass Effect actually is it's just Knights of the Old Republic 3, but they couldn't use Star Wars anymore, or they didn't want to, or they want to do their own thing. The first Mass Effect has more in common with Knights of the Old Republic than it does with like Mass Effect 2, in my opinion. Like Mass Effect 2 is like a Western RPG shooter. The first one is very like kind of shootery, but not. The shooting isn't nearly as good. It's much more Knights of the Old Republic than anything else. Lots of stuff was just straight ripped from that. And yeah, it's also, I think, a testament, you mentioned the writing, that when this game came out, it was like the best writing in gaming, like some of the best. And now it's sort of like, yeah, not that great, because it's, 15 years old? 13 years old maybe now? This came out in like 2009 maybe?
And yeah, you're completely right. Like we have some hard hitters now, right? Like you have The Last of Us, you have God of War 2018. Like you have some really good written games out here. I will say the Legendary Edition has fixed the gunplay in Mass Effect 1.
Oh, really? Interesting.
To a degree, yeah. It's a little jank, but it's way better than original release.
We'll say a lot of the good writing now does owe itself to games like Mass Effect that were some of the first kind of these big, long story, character interaction, just talking driven. I mean, you spend 60% of the time in Mass Effect probably just talking to people just to get to the next shooter part. It is very much
that's totally cool. Like I think it's a lot of fun. It's like more hammy fun than it used to be, but it's still fun. I think Mass Effect 2 still holds up, by the way, like you mentioned earlier. You're right about the haminess, because like I was mentioning, Mass Effect 1 is much more like Star Wars. Mass Effect 2 and 3 go much kind of darker, more sci-fi, but Mass Effect 1 is like almost literally just like Star Wars. It's like a little campy, a little silly, kind of serious and sci-fi, but a little more fantasy and stuff. But they're great games. I've played the first 3 at least. So I think I have replayed these games about 3 or 4 times now. I really like them.
Cool.
But anyway, yeah, what do you got going on?
Oh boy. The Naoki Urasawa never ends. I'm about halfway through 20th Century Boys, and it's phenomenal. It's amazing, of course. Uh, it's so I've read Pluto and Monster. This feels like those, but like on an epic scale. Pluto is kind of the fewest characters. Monster has a couple more. This one is like spans like a 50-year time period, like 3 or 4 generations of people are all important. People's sons and daughters and fathers and their childhood friends is like a big thing. It's awesome so far. It's epic. And I will say this is not, it's like kind of slight spoilers for like the like momentum of the story, I guess. But the first part of the story, which is about 50 chapters long, I was thinking like, wow, they're really like just going to the end. They're going to like resolve this. And I know that this is 250 chapters long. And I was like, okay, that's weird that they're kind of rushing to the end of what seemed like it would be the end of the whole series. But something, Urasawa was just able to do this. He's just able to like write himself an ending to so many characters and then time jump 20 years and leave a couple things open and tie it all back together and keep tying it back together. This guy is like, master storyteller is like not even enough credit. This is like, Naoki Urasawa is the dude. Like, he's the storytelling dude. Like, he can do no wrong. Like, everything. Go back and listen to when I finished Monster 2 or 3 weeks ago. Go back into when I finished Pluto 5 months ago. This guy is the greatest storyteller of our generation. I won't hear otherwise. 20th Century Boys is awesome. I can't wait to finish it. I'll probably finish it in a week or two, maybe. I blew through like 40 or 50 chapters in like yesterday. So,
damn, nice. Yeah, it sounds like another fucking winner series here.
He can write no wrong. He can do no wrong. He's so good.
Did Future Diary steal this eyeball guy's design for that one character it had?
I don't remember from Mirai Nikki, but that is, I actually don't know who that is. And that's the crazy thing is that he literally introduces a mystery like in the first 5 or 10 chapters of like who is Friend. There's this guy called Friend who is like the bad guy who is like grabbing political power and setting up terrorist attacks, and these people are trying to stop him. And it's like 110 chapters in, and it's like we still don't know who Friend is, and somehow the mystery is still like front and center. So it isn't like we're just forgetting about the mystery. It's like still being explored, still being expanded on. Yeah, I mean, this is like the greatest mystery thriller of all time, like potentially, right? Like Monster probably has that for me now, but Monster's a little bit less of a mystery. There's a little bit of a mystery of like, where did Johan come from and why is he like this and all that stuff. But this is much more like, who is Friend? Why is he doing these things? Why does one of the girls have psychic powers? Like there's like a little bit of a sci-fi fantasy element in there, but like just a sprinkling to make it interesting. I don't know. It's so immaculate. Naoki Urasawa is like, I could just gush for hours again. It's just so good. I'm like talking about it right now. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to turn this off and just go read some like right after this until 16
That's
minutes.
Hype. Yeah, that's how you get like some fucking audience investment, right? Like that's a good feeling to have.
Yeah. And it's I mean, like the one, and it's not even a complaint. It's just kind of a little like asterisk disclaimer is like, he spends his time really setting the stage and getting things started. So it's like, yeah, the first 15 or 20 chapters are kind of slow. But he also introduces cool, like mystery, wild stuff, like twists and turns, but they aren't they're not the kinds of twists that are like, they don't come out of left field. It's what is the surprising yet inevitable twists, right? Brandon Sanderson, one of my favorite authors, says that all twist endings should be surprising yet inevitable. And that's kind of what all of his storytelling feels like when it does kind of a reveal or something else. It's like, oh, well, that's surprising that this happened, but it also felt inevitable with the way the story was being told. I don't know. This guy's this guy is my god now. Like I worship the ground. I worship the paper that Naoki Urasawa draws on. He can do no wrong. no missteps in 20th Century Boys so far. It's going to be awesome.
That's sick. You have to check back in and let us know how it ended. Well, don't tell us how it ended, but your opinion on how it ended.
Oh my gosh, the end of 20th Century Boys' friend is this character.
It goes into the 21st century.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I don't mind slow burns. Like it's like setting up a bunch of dominoes, right? It takes a while, but knocking them down is satisfying.
Well, and something that I think 20th Century Boys does, like, even better than Monster, right? Like, Monster's 160 chapters or so, and Monster really is kind of a slow burn. There's like 2 or 3 kind of climactic moments that give you that release of like something's happening, it's going. This series is even better about. There have been like, I'm trying to think, I'm like 113, 120 chapters in, something like that. There have been like 3 or 4, maybe even 5, like really big climactic, like, oh, like we're going to go do a terrorist act, or we have to stop this terrorist act, or we're like escaping from this supermax prison. There's like all these really good climaxes along the way that the flow of the story is so immaculate that, yes, the whole story is a slow burn, but it is not a slow burn along the way, because he's giving you these other stories that are having climaxes and having falling actions, and the pacing of it is just, it's so good. Like, again, like those first 15 or 20 chapters, that's kind of the real slow burn introduction part. And then once it starts resolving stuff and having climaxes and having action set pieces and stuff like that, it's just really cool. And I'm always looking forward to the next one. The next one is always being set up. The characters are all super interesting. This one, like I was saying, is like multi-generational. So there's like the main timeline. It's not a time travel thing, but the main time setting of the initial 50 chapters is in like 1997, 1998, 1999, like leading into 2000. And there's a lot of flashbacks to like the 1969, 1970, like 30 years prior, when most of the main characters were kids. And then there's like a flash forward after that in like 2014. This was written in like 2002 or so. And it's like in the 97 time frame, there was like a police guy who got murdered. And his chapter, he was talking about his daughter's son who he never got to visit and who he wanted to go visit. And he like dies taking him a gift. And then like in the flash forward part, like that's now a main character. That's his like grandson. And all these things are connected together like that, where it's like you're never just getting, whenever new characters is introduced after the first like 50 or so chapters, it's like, it's not actually a new character. Like it's got a connection somewhere. It's been, weaved together in this perfect story. I can barely wrap my head around you like write this good without like writing the entire thing, rewriting it, planning it from the start. I don't know. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. Number one fan over here. But no, I that sounds good. I'll have to check out fucking Astro Boy prequel.
Yeah, Pluto. Yeah,
Pluto
for sure.
And then I'll check out the Astro Boy game, just so I'm up to date on the source material. And then I'll go through all of those, and then I'll check out Monster.
It's all good. One more thing to keep an eye out for. We are going to be doing a read-along, read-through book club discussion of Nausicaa and the Valley of Wind by Hayao Miyazaki. That should be up before the next episode, hopefully sometime next week. We're starting with Volume 1, so if you want to read along with us, come join us. Those should be pretty short-ish, 30-minute, 45-minute discussions, just talking about what happened. We're going to go through all 7 volumes. Yeah, come hang out, come discuss it, leave some comments. I'd love to hear from you while we read that. And yeah, anything else at the end here, Gautam?
Nah, should be great.
Cool. Hey, thank you everyone for listening or watching. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channels, White, Gray, Black on YouTube or WGB Weekly Manga Podcast. You can type either of those into the YouTube search bar and they will be the first thing that shows up. Don't forget we're on most major podcast platforms if you like to listen to us instead of watch us. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on everything. We're on RSS. The best thing you can do to support us, if you want to support us, give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a little thumbs up, ring the little bell. We don't want or need your money. We're just looking for some support, more listeners. So come join us in the book club. If you are incredibly rich and you do want to throw some money our way, you can check out Patreon.com/WGB Manga. We are happy to take your money. There's some bonus episodes up there if you like listening to us talk about other things. We've talked about video games. We've talked about how we got into anime and manga. But yeah, as always, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks a bunch. See ya.
Please come back next week, and don't forget to read more manga.